Ever wonder why a powerhouse like Oliver suddenly stopped producing tractors, leaving a trail of memories and a hint of mystery? Today, we'll reminisce about Oliver's remarkable run, delve into key turning points, and find out what led to their ultimate exit from the tractor business. If you love classic farm machinery as much as I do, stick around for some fascinating facts and a heartfelt tribute. The rise of Oliver. Oliver's roots stretch back to a pivotal merger in 1929, when four established companies, Oliver Chilled Plow Works, Hart Par Company, American Seeding Machine Company, and Nichols and Shepard, joined forces to form the Oliver Farm Equipment Company. At the time, each entity brought its own specialized expertise to the table. Oliver Chilled Plow Works had revolutionized plow design. Hart Par had essentially coined the term tractor. American Seeding Machine Company excelled in planting equipment, and Nichols and Shepard was famous for threshing machines. By uniting these operations under one banner, Oliver positioned itself at the forefront of America's rapidly modernizing agricultural landscape. According to Oliver Heritage magazine, this merger was a well-calculated step that combined decades of manufacturing knowledge into a single, more potent enterprise. In the early 1930s, Oliver quickly established itself as a producer of reliable and, for the era, innovative tractors. One reason for its initial success was its strong focus on research and development. While many companies of the day simply improved upon existing designs, Oliver engineers were actively experimenting with new features, such as overhead valve engines that promised better fuel efficiency and performance. These tweaks may sound mundane to us now, but at a time when agriculture was becoming increasingly mechanized, such innovations could give a company a critical edge. Oliver's name soon became synonymous with quality. Across rural America, the sight of a newly purchased Oliver tractor elicited feelings of pride and progress. Farmers appreciated how these machines blended practicality with aesthetic appeal, exemplified by the brand's signature green paint and streamlined styling. Indeed, part of Oliver's early success was tied to how it marketed its tractors as both rugged workhorses and symbols of forward-thinking technology. Vintage newspaper ads from the 1930s depict Oliver tractors plowing fields with ease, promising efficiency and durability to help farmers get more done in less time. By the mid-1930s, Oliver had introduced significant models like the Oliver 70, which gained a reputation for its sturdy overhead valve engine and improved operator comfort. Farm equipment historians point out that unlike some rivals, Oliver strived to adapt its machines to real-world conditions. For instance, certain Oliver tractor lines were designed to be more versatile, accommodating multiple implements for plowing, planting, and cultivating. This flexibility was a big selling point during a decade when many small to mid-sized farms needed a single tractor to handle a variety of tasks efficiently. As the company grew, it kept an eye on every corner of agricultural machinery. Plows, combines, seed drills, and even corn pickers made their way into Oliver's catalog. This diversification served a dual purpose. It not only stabilized the company's finances by spreading risk across different product categories, but also fostered brand loyalty. If a farmer bought an Oliver tractor and was satisfied, there was a good chance he'd also purchase an Oliver-branded planter or thresher. This sense of one-stop shopping laid the foundation for Oliver's reputable standing in the market. Transitioning into the 1940s, Oliver's engineering prowess rose to new heights. The brand was among the first to effectively incorporate diesel engines into their tractor lineup, a move that would have long-term implications for farm productivity. Diesel engines offered superior torque at lower RPMs, allowing tractors to handle heavier loads while consuming less fuel compared to gasoline engines. This shift showcased Oliver's commitment to fueling agricultural advancement, while also foreshadowing the brand's willingness to explore emerging technologies. One often overlooked aspect of Oliver's rise is its cultural footprint. During World War II, when farm labor was scarce, reliable tractors became crucial for producing food efficiently. Oliver's consistent performance cemented its popularity, transforming it into something more than just a manufacturer. It became an emblem of resilience and American ingenuity. Family farms passed down Oliver machines and stories from one generation to the next, embedding the brand into the collective memory of countless rural communities. By the end of the 1940s, Oliver was a formidable player in the agricultural machinery arena. The company's strategic approach to innovation, commitment to quality, and knack for smart branding had set it on a path to success. Yet these strengths were about to be tested by a rapidly evolving marketplace and intensifying competition from other big names in the tractor industry. For now, though, Oliver enjoyed an almost golden reputation, buoyed by loyal customers and a strong lineup of machines that had become indispensable for American agriculture. That said, the seeds of future challenges were already being planted. The agricultural landscape was in constant flux, with larger and more specialized farms demanding bigger, more efficient machinery. While Oliver excelled at providing versatile workhorses, it would soon face pressure to keep innovating and, more critically, to match the resources and aggressive marketing strategies of emerging industry titans. But in the 1930s and 1940s, none of that overshadowed the company's remarkable ascent. Whether you grew up on a farm that ran Oliver equipment or simply appreciate classic machinery, there's no denying the nostalgia factor. The brand's humble beginnings merged with a keen business sense to carve out a unique place in tractor history. As we move into the next segment, we'll explore some of Oliver's most iconic models, machines that not only fueled the brand's reputation for excellence, but also shaped the direction of farm equipment design for years to come. Before we get to the next twist in Oliver's history, I've got a quick ask. Hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying the ride. Over 98% of viewers don't subscribe. Kind of like buying a tractor and forgetting the fuel. It's free, takes a second, and helps keep these stories coming. Big thanks to those who already do. Iconic Oliver models. If there's one aspect of Oliver's story that still resonates among enthusiasts, it's the distinct identity of its tractor lineup. From the late 1930s to the mid-1950s, the company released a range of machines that quickly became go-to choices for small and large farms alike. One of the earliest and most influential was the Oliver 70, which debuted in the mid-1930s. Equipped with an overhead valve engine, the Oliver 70 delivered respectable horsepower for its time, but it was the model's reliability and smooth operation that won the hearts of many farmers. According to TractorData.com, the 70 was praised for its straightforward design, making it relatively easy to maintain, an essential quality in rural communities that often had limited access to specialized service centers. Building on the success of the 70, Oliver introduced the Fleetline series in the late 1940s. The series encompassed models like the 66, 77, and 88, each differentiated by horsepower and size. The 77, for instance, used a 6-cylinder engine that provided a blend of power and efficiency, raising the bar for mid-range tractors of the era. That being said, these Fleetline tractors were more than just reliable. They demonstrated Oliver's knack for anticipating what farmers truly needed: dependable machinery capable of handling multiple tasks without breaking the bank on fuel or upkeep. The sleek, streamlined hoods and vibrant green paint jobs were a bonus, bringing a certain flair to fields that had traditionally been dominated by drab, utilitarian designs. Yet the crowning glory for many Oliver fans was the Super Series, which appeared in the mid-1950s as the agricultural boom continued. The Super 88, in particular, stood out with incremental horsepower improvements, advanced hydraulics, and a more comfortable operator station compared to earlier generations. Features like live PTO, where the power takeoff could run independently of the transmission, were increasingly in demand, reflecting farmers' desire for tractors that offered maximum flexibility. In fact, these advancements had cultural implications. As farms grew larger, time became a premium, and machines with convenient features could make a significant difference in daily operations. Another noteworthy gem was the Oliver 990, a diesel powerhouse that appealed to those who needed extra muscle for heavy-duty tasks. Sporting a robust engine and known for its rugged build quality, the 990 garnered a loyal following in regions where challenging terrain or large acreages demanded more torque and stamina. The introduction of more diesel options underlined Oliver's commitment to evolving with industry trends. While some competitors were slower to adopt diesel technology, Oliver recognized diesel's growing popularity, especially among bigger farms looking to reduce operating costs and increase efficiency. Beyond performance, Oliver also paid attention to aesthetics and ergonomics, a point sometimes overlooked in accounts of tractor history. By the 1950s, many farmers spent extended hours in the field, making operator comfort a significant selling point. The company began introducing better seats, improved controls, and more thoughtful layouts, turning the operator station into a workspace that was easier on the body. These design choices may seem modest by today's standards, but at the time, they helped position Oliver as a forward-thinking brand willing to invest in farmer-friendly features. One of the lasting impacts of these iconic models is their influence on tractor collecting and restoration hobbies today. Across the United States, you'll find dedicated Oliver clubs and organizations where members restore aging machines to their former glory, preserving a piece of 20th century agricultural heritage. Some collectors even track down rare variants or limited edition paint schemes, savoring the thrill of rescuing a historical artifact from obscurity. Classic tractor shows often feature rows of immaculately restored 77s, 88s, and more, each meticulously detailed to rekindle nostalgia for a time when American farming underwent a seismic shift toward mechanization. Interestingly, Oliver's design language and engineering approach left an imprint on the broader machinery world. Competitors took note of Oliver's success with certain features, like the overhead valve engines, live PTO, and ergonomic considerations, and worked them into their own tractors. Through this ripple effect, the innovations pioneered or popularized by Oliver helped shape the entire industry's path forward, influencing everything from how fuel systems were engineered to the aesthetic expectations customers had for new farm equipment. Despite the decades that have passed, these iconic models still command respect for their role in bridging traditional farming methods with more modern, efficient approaches. The brand successfully balanced innovation with practicality, and it's this dual emphasis that continues to fascinate those who study agricultural history. Farmers who lived through the Oliver era often reminisce about how the brand's tractors embodied both brawn and brains, tackling tough tasks with surprisingly simple maintenance requirements. Yet while Oliver's machines enjoyed considerable acclaim, the company would soon find itself navigating a much harsher business climate. As we'll uncover in the next section, shifting market demands, fiercer competition, and a series of corporate deals would all intersect to challenge Oliver's independence. Still, these legendary models remained central to Oliver's mystique. They weren't merely tractors, they were ambassadors of a brand dedicated to making life on the farm more productive and, dare I say, a bit more enjoyable. For many, hearing the steady hum of an Oliver engine conjures up memories of simpler times, whether that meant riding alongside a parent during harvest or tackling endless rows of crops on a sweltering summer day. Acquisitions and industry shifts. By the late 1950s, the American tractor industry was evolving at a pace that even established players like Oliver struggled to keep up with. Mechanical advancements were coming at breakneck speed, and consumer demands were shifting in favor of higher horsepower and more specialized machinery. Meanwhile, heavyweight competitors like John Deere, International Harvester, and Ford were not only innovating but also leveraging their extensive dealer networks and marketing budgets to capture ever larger slices of the market. In this increasingly crowded arena, Oliver, despite its loyal customer base and storied history, found itself at a pivotal crossroad. In 1960, the White Motor Corporation, an established company primarily known for manufacturing trucks and other vehicles, saw potential in Oliver. White had been seeking ways to diversify its operations, and agricultural equipment seemed like a promising avenue. The acquisition deal was finalized that same year, effectively placing Oliver under the White Motor Corporation umbrella. According to documentation preserved by the Floyd County Museum archives, the strategic objective was to pool resources from Oliver and another White acquisition, Cockshut, to create a conglomerate that could better compete with industry giants. This merger also included Minneapolis-Moline in due course, further consolidating the farm machinery segment under White's expanding influence. Initially, this corporate restructuring brought hope. Infusions of capital from White promised fresh R&D opportunities, while cross-brand collaborations hinted at the possibility of sharing best practices among Oliver, Minneapolis-Moline, and Cockshut. On paper, combining these storied brands had the potential to yield a stronger product lineup, one that could rival the variety and scale of the largest manufacturers. For a brief period, it looked as if Oliver might not just survive, but thrive under White's stewardship. However, the reality proved more complicated. White Motor Corporation was juggling multiple acquisitions, each with its own historical identity, dealer network, and engineering philosophy. Instead of fostering a seamless integration, these overlapping interests sometimes caused internal confusion. For instance, Oliver and Minneapolis-Moline both produced similar tractors targeting the same customer segments. Determining which brand would take precedence or whether to merge product lines became a recurring challenge. Moreover, the White Motor Corporation itself faced broader economic pressures, including fluctuations in the truck market, which might have diverted focus and resources away from the newly formed agricultural division. During this period, demographic shifts within American agriculture also began to pose challenges. Farms were consolidating into fewer, larger operations, demanding machines with greater horsepower and specialized attachments. While Oliver was certainly not oblivious to these changes, it struggled to keep pace with John Deere and International Harvester, which were rolling out large feature-packed tractors specifically designed for industrial-scale farming. Oliver's existing models, while well-loved for their reliability, weren't always seen as the best fit for these rapidly expanding agribusinesses. Another aspect that merits discussion is the international competition that started gaining traction in the North American market. European manufacturers, such as Massey Ferguson, had already carved out a significant foothold through technological innovations and competitive pricing. Other companies from overseas also recognized opportunities to grab market share. Under White's direction, Oliver did try to explore joint ventures and adopt new design elements, but it was a tall order to fend off both domestic giants and nimble foreign entrants simultaneously. Despite these headwinds, Oliver still enjoyed brand loyalty from smaller farms, especially in regions of the Midwest where Oliver had long established dealer relationships. Many customers stuck with the brand they knew and trusted, even if some of the newer tractors came from parent company White with Oliver badges or a hybrid design approach. Yet this loyalty alone could not offset the structural challenges facing the entire operation. As White wrestled with its portfolio of brands and tried to unify them under one cohesive vision, the once distinct identities of Oliver, Minneapolis-Moline, and Cockshut began to blur. The agricultural machinery sector itself was undergoing a transformation. Technological leaps such as power shift transmissions, improved hydraulics, and sophisticated three-point hitch systems were becoming the norm. While Oliver had historically been an innovator under White's ownership, it sometimes found itself reacting to changes rather than leading them. There were exceptions. Certain models did incorporate advanced features, but widespread success on par with Oliver's earlier decades proved elusive. Ultimately, White's leadership had to make some tough calls. Balancing the legacy of multiple brands against the need for consolidated efficiency often meant sacrificing cherished names and product lines. Some historians argue that had White been more patient or better funded, Oliver might have sustained its presence by focusing on niche markets or particular technologies. But the prevailing economic winds of the late 1960s and 1970s, rising interest rates, fluctuating commodity prices, and increased global competition combined to place relentless pressure on profit margins. By the mid-1960s, it was evident that the old way of doing business wasn't sustainable. Oliver's destiny was tied to White's broader strategy, which aimed to unify all of its agricultural acquisitions under one coherent identity. In 1969, these efforts culminated in the formation of White Farm Equipment, effectively consolidating Oliver, Minneapolis-Moline, and Cockshut into a single entity. With this move, the countdown to the phasing out of the Oliver name had unofficially begun. Though models bearing the Oliver badge continued to appear for a few more years, the writing was on the wall. What had started as a promising alliance gradually became a case study in how corporate acquisitions can disrupt and dilute cherished brands. It's not that Oliver had lost its ability to build quality tractors. It was more that the shifting demands of the market, internal corporate restructuring, and external competition converged to push Oliver toward the sidelines. The next chapter in this saga would see the Oliver name disappear altogether, though not without leaving an enduring legacy etched into America's agricultural heritage. The end of production and legacy. When White Farm Equipment was formed in 1969, it effectively merged the operations of Oliver, Minneapolis-Moline, and Cockshut into a single umbrella. Though the Oliver name appeared on certain tractor models for a few years thereafter, the clock was ticking on its autonomy. By the mid-1970s, White had made the decision to streamline branding, resulting in the gradual discontinuation of tractors carrying the Oliver badge. According to records from the National Museum of American History, the final Oliver-labeled units rolled off the assembly lines around 1976, marking the end of an era that had shaped American farming culture for decades. For enthusiasts and longtime customers, the announcement felt like a gut punch. Ever since Oliver's formation in 1929, the company's tractors had stood for quality, innovation, and a personal connection to the land. Families who'd grown up with Oliver equipment could recall handing down an Oliver 70 or a Fleet line from one generation to the next. The bond was more than purely mechanical. It was emotional. When Oliver vanished as an independent brand, it created a palpable sense of loss, akin to saying goodbye to an old friend who had been a steadfast partner in the field. Still, Oliver's legacy was far from forgotten. White Farm Equipment incorporated many of Oliver's engineering principles into its newer models, blending them with technology inherited from Minneapolis-Moline and Cockshut. Though the famous green paint scheme gave way to White's more corporate color palette, the spirit of Oliver engineering lived on in the form of diesel engines, live PTO systems, and operator comfort features that had originally distinguished Oliver tractors. Traces of this lineage persisted even after AGCO eventually absorbed White's agricultural division in the 1990s, making Oliver a kind of ancestor to some of the machinery still on the market today. In the broader agricultural community, collectors and restorers played a crucial role in keeping Oliver's memory alive. Classic tractor shows, often held at county fairs or dedicated historical gatherings, began featuring rows of gleaming Oliver models: 67, 77, 88, Super 88, 990 diesel, and more, each meticulously restored to recapture the brand's heyday. The practice went beyond mere hobbyism. It became a tribute to the ingenuity and craftsmanship that Oliver represented. Enthusiasts traded stories of how these machines worked the fields, sharing mechanical tips and part sources for restorations. Many recognized that each tractor carried a piece of agricultural history that should not be lost to time. Another dimension of Oliver's enduring influence is its role as a teaching tool for younger generations. Farming schools and vocational programs sometimes use restored Oliver tractors to illustrate the evolution of agricultural machinery. By examining the differences between a 1950s-era Oliver model and a modern-day tractor, students gain insight into how technology has advanced and how much of that progress builds upon earlier innovations. This educational aspect ensures that Oliver's name continues to be mentioned whenever the topic of tractor history arises. Oliver also holds a sentimental place in American culture, especially for those who grew up in rural areas in the mid-20th century. The brand evokes memories of simpler times, days when families worked their land together, and the local dealer was part of the community fabric. Even if one's father or grandfather didn't own an Oliver, the distinct green machines were ubiquitous enough in certain regions that nearly everyone recognized them. The brand's disappearance from new production only heightened its mystique, turning Oliver into a symbol of a bygone era when farming felt more personal and less corporate. Economically, the discontinuation of Oliver tractors signaled a broader consolidation trend in the farm equipment industry. As farms themselves became larger and more industrialized, it was arguably inevitable that major corporations would dominate the market, leaving less room for brands like Oliver, which thrived on a mixture of mechanical excellence and close-knit customer relationships. But the fact that Oliver lasted as long as it did speaks volumes about its strong reputation for reliability and technical innovation. Today, if you visit antique machinery expos, you'll likely see an Oliver exhibit with passionate owners ready to chat about everything from horsepower ratings to paint color codes. This sense of community around the Oliver name is a testament to how powerful a role tractors once played and continue to play in people's lives. It's one thing for a machine to be efficient or even game-changing. It's another for it to leave an indelible mark on the hearts of those who used it. Oliver managed to do just that. In the end, Oliver's story is about more than just tractors. It's a tale of American enterprise, the challenges of corporate mergers, and the shifting tides of agriculture from the early 20th century onward. While the brand may no longer appear on modern equipment, its influence is still felt. The next time you see a vintage Oliver tractor, consider the journey it made from the dusty farmland of the 1930s or 1940s to a proud display at a modern-day machinery show. Each scratch on the pane and each carefully restored bolt speaks to a legacy that helped feed a nation and inspire generations of farmers. Let's be real, that's no small feat. Hope you found this video helpful and enjoyed our nostalgic tour through Oliver's past. Jokes aside, it's incredible how something so utilitarian can leave such a lasting impression on our hearts and minds. If you got your own Oliver story, share it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Thanks for sticking around, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. You won't want to miss our next deep dive into classic machinery and the stories that shaped rural America. Until next time, keep those memories alive and that vintage iron roaring.